Morning. It is Tuesday morning, and in fact, it is the last Tuesday morning recap of the current campaign, the Disneyworld of Darkness Changeling campaign. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say right at the beginning that the campaign has ended. Didn't exactly in the way I thought they would go out. Well, to be fair, I think I did make a statement towards the end of the last video, something to the effect of, I've got no idea what they're planning, and it's probably going to be ludicrous. I probably didn't use that exact word, but something to that effect. And, yeah, wow. So, we started out the session by the group splitting up. Always a good thing. Always a good thing to go in completely different directions from each other. We had Jack and Colin, our Strongman and our troublemaker, head back into Epcot to resume the search for Figment. We had Django meeting with the SU to try to convince them to do something to fix this. And we had Dwight, our local our local she, who was gathering up all of the knockers in the Magic Kingdom to try to rebuild something fun in hopes that it might help to bait Figment into the area. Now, for those who missed last week's session, Jack, in his last encounter with Figment, had been fed a large number of Chinese takeaway containers. And had been caught on a great many videos. And had a lot of people thinking that he was a new performance art piece, a bottomless pit of a man performing a show at Epcot. For those familiar with Epcot, during the Festival of the Arts, they do have a lot of very interesting shows. I have never seen a bottomless pit of a man performing at Epcot. I'm not sure if I would enjoy that or not. I probably prefer the shows they have, but, you know. It's also worth making note at this point that Jack, who is this ogre, this bottomless pit, is not a red cap, meaning that he does not have the eat anything and be fine ability. He just eats a lot and suffers the consequences. He also has a flaw that says when he is offered something to eat, he can't say no. Which is part of the issue when Figment kept bringing him more and more and more. He had to keep accepting it. Now then, that means that a lot of people have very recently seen him on YouTube as this performer, and then they begin seeing him in the parks. So, of course, he gets a crowd following him. And, of course, two things happen. First off, they start asking, where's Figment? And second off, they start offering food. Now, this greatly slows down Jack's progress through the park, because he can't go 5 steps without someone offering him something to eat. It also means that he is eating absolutely tons, to the point that he started having to make regular rolls to see if he was just going to be sick everywhere. It was at this point that Django, or Seeger, rather, Django's player, made a statement, and I decided to make use of it. You see, Django has a flaw where periodically he will say something, and fate happens that it comes true. So as Jack is being fed all of these various food items by all of these park guests, he made a comment, something to the effect of one of the children asking Jack to eat them, or something of that effect. I rolled a die 10 at the time, because I decided that eating a child might be a bit too intense for Epcot. So I decided to roll on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being a child offers him some more food, 10 being the child asks to be eaten. I rolled a 5, so right in the middle of the two. So what did she do? She asked him to eat her Minnie Mouse doll, which he proceeded to do. Not a digestion aid. Not recommended. And thus, the headline, Visiting Strongman Eats Minnie Mouse. You know, because it happened. What can I say? They continued searching through. They believed that they located where Figment was. However, in the process of all of this, Jack also got stopped by security, who informed him that his ticket had been voided and that he needed to leave the park with them because he was performing unauthorized shows within Epcot. Disney does not like people who do not work for Disney performing shows in Disney. It's kind of a known thing. It goes along with the whole adults aren't allowed to dress up and be mistaken for characters rule that they've got. So, of course, they start questioning him. They start talking to him. They even scan his magic band, at which point they find out that he never scanned into the park today. So, although they could see he had valid tickets, he had not actually checked into the park. That's another big no-no. It means that he bypassed the main gate somehow. They don't like that. So they were escorting him out and revoking the rest of his tickets for the other week and a half that remained of their trip. When Jack got a text from Colin, which I'm still not sure why Colin sent, but basically Colin spurred Jack into starting a fight. But before Jack started the fight, he basically intimidated them into calling more people. So he had more people to try to fight against him. That was a bit entertaining because they were trying to tase what they thought was an unruly park guest, and tasers were just not working on Jack. You know, he's an ogre, he's got massive stamina. They just were kind of, yeah, sure, whatever. Zap, 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 and then he would punch one of them into unconsciousness. And that continued for a while. Madman Colin decided to start trying to drum up more people to be angry at security, basically trying to cause yet another riot, to which point someone shot him with a taser dart, and he fell flat on his face. They came up to arrest him. He burst into flames in the middle of Disney. Nothing like a bit of discretion. Set the guy on fire, and then ran and jumped in the lake in the middle of the park. Yeah. Because that's low-key. Meanwhile, Django, Seeger's character, managed to convince the SU on a course of action that would summon Maven back and force her to keep the ancient Pact of the She, the Pact of Rulership. doing so by a joint unleashing of the dreaming. I'm still not quite sure why he decided to do this. Now, I know that it had been said in that conversation that Maven had been previously able to be the one that came up with the solution for detaining Figment. Yeah, but that was really the only reason I can think that he wanted her back specifically. But he did. He wanted her back specifically. So we then come around to the fact that Jack manages to sneak his way out of Epcot after pummeling a dozen security officers into unconsciousness. 3 of them died. I don't think Jack stuck around to realize that, but 3 of them died. Jack then managed to get out of the park and onto a bus and called Dwight, his boss, to say, "Dwight, I'm going home. I'm leaving. I am done." Dwight got off the phone with Jack and got a call from Cullen to say, "I'm trapped in Epcot. I can't get out. They're looking for me. Help." To which Dwight convinced one of the knockers that he had recently gotten to return to the castle to go. The guy was also an engineer in the park, so he was an employee. He knew his way around. And he managed to get him to go into Epcot to bring Colin out through a secret means. So yeah, Colin and Dwight return to the castle. The Eshu ritual is still ongoing. And Jack is heading for the airport. The bus that he is on pulls over. The driver announces that they're having, engine trouble and that they just need to stay on the bus and wait. As soon as the driver says this, Jack decides he's going to get off of the bus. The driver tries to stop him, and Jack knocks the driver over and gets off the bus. He gets off the bus, walks down, has a look around, and realizes there's a black big rig truck over there with a black trailer that's just stopped across the road. This doesn't look great. So he gets back on the bus. At which point he starts the engine of the bus, looks out, realizes again the truck is across the road, and decides, fuck it, and gets back off of the bus again. At which point, again, being very low-key, because that's what this group is good at, is low-key, he decides to summon dragon wings for himself and to fly away. As he is lifting off to fly away, the truck finishes rolling down the shutters on the side of the trailer, and 3 Technocracy hit and mark androids are visible and open fire. Jack manages to evade them, to dodge, to fly away. As Jack flies away to safety, never to be seen or heard from again, we cut back to the Eshu ritual as it completes, and they all look around confused, not knowing what's happened, because nothing seems to have happened when they completed the ritual, which is not really the effect they were going for. Meanwhile, though, back at the castle, something does happen. And Dwight and Colin, who are out in front of the castle helping with the work, watch as a purple dragon, a huge purple dragon, not a little figment dragon, a huge one, flies down, circling the castle, to land in front of the main door, shape-shifting into a sorceress. Very much a la Maleficent. If anyone's ever played the Magic Kingdom's phone app game, very much like that opening scene. In fact, I used that scene to show the players as a visual cue. She turned, walked into the throne room, followed by Dwight, Taylor's character, and Dwight finds her sitting on the throne, quite happily so. They have a bit of a conversation. Dwight informs her that they were there. They were sent for assistance to help the kingdom. He basically realizes that this is Baroness Maven, now Queen Maven, who was actually summoned back by the Eshu ritual to assume rulership of the court. At which point, I'll come back to that, but at which point she informed them that their services were no longer available, and Dwight and Colin started to leave. At which point Colin realized security's kind of still looking for me. I need to sneak out. Luckily for them, though, as they were departing the dreaming, they bumped into Helena, one of the 7 Giovanni sisters. Colin asked her to help him out. She said she'd do it for a vial of blood. He agreed. She led him into one of the service tunnels, took a vial of blood from his arm into a vial, and then pointed him down a corridor, gave him directions on his way out of the parks, and then proceeded to close the door behind him and feed him to a group of 50 zombies, because she was a necromancer as well as a vampire. Oops. Now, Dwight left fine. Colin had already gone. Colin was dead. Jack had already gone. And Django lived there, so he wasn't going anywhere. And so as we ended it, Disney World descended into a dark reign as the Unseelie Court took over the castle. So there we are. Now, some things that became clear in the aftermath was that, well, for one, Maven had not been summoned back from the dreaming. She hadn't. Now, the enforcing of the contract of rulership on her actually solidified her claim to the throne. That was the part that she needed. She, all along, had actually been hanging out at one of the hotels. She had made a deal with Helena and started this whole convoluted scheme in motion as a scheme to draw power. She wanted the throne. The problem is that she did not have enough support to claim the throne. She was trying to set a set of things in motion where everyone above her would be gone, and then Figment would escape, and then her original plan had been to recapture Figment and then use recapturing Figment as a way to curry favor, along with the fact that she was the highest ranking noble of the court still there, in order to politic her way onto the throne. But while she was in the process of setting up her plan to capture Figment, someone went and cast a spell that said, you need to do what she do and you need to rule. And when she felt that contract tug at her, she went, oh, well, okay, sure. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. So they managed to use Figment as a weapon to injure the technocracy so that the vampires could take over the World Showcase as Maven's allies. They did find out that Helena had been secretly puppeteering her sisters all along as a powerful necromancer that can dominate other vampires. And there we have it. The campaign ends as one player falls, two players slink away home, and a final one finds his place. That is the end of the Changeling game. This will be my last prediction for it, and I'll pick up next week with Fenris. We will be going back to D&D 5e. We will be going back to tentatively a Spelljammer setting. They're not actually going to be starting out the game on a ship flying through space. Well, actually half of them will be starting on a ship crashing out of space. But we'll pick that up next week. Have a great day. Like, subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow to talk a bit more about Fenris and maybe some of the things that we will expect to see in the game. Have a great day.